Hello there, my name is Ismail and welcome to Top Channel 101. So yeah, the final season of Game of Thrones is on its way, and so I thought to myself, why not get on the hype and do something related to Game of Thrones? And what more iconic thing you could think of than this Game of Thrones throne itself? So yeah, let's see how we can approach this in Blender. I'm not sure if I will be able to replicate the exact thing or get something that looks as good, but yeah, let's try it and see how we can achieve something like this. And I think we're going to use a lot of duplicate assets for this, so that we don't have to model everything here, because it would take a lot of time. I can't imagine how they made this thing, because you have to make every individual sword and then bend it. Maybe some of them are just, I don't know. So let's begin. I think we can start out by tracing out a shape that we can slap our swords onto and see how that goes. So let me turn on my screen keys, make sure that the sound is good, and we can get started. Yeah, so I don't know if there is anyone watching this also enjoys Game of Thrones. You can let me know in the comments. So let's start by adding a plane. Shift A to add a plane. I'll just scale it down a bit like that. I'm just trying to go for the basic shape of the seat. Let me turn on random colors here and then cavity, so that I can see the shape more defined in edit mode. I'll also, I guess, use the mirror modifier. So I've deleted the side of this mesh, so that I can use the mirror modifier to model that side. So I'll select this face here, extrude that down, push these vertices to an angle like that, and I think we're getting something like that. Let me see, should I do that now, or maybe no, I need more reference images here. So I'll split this view, and I have a few. Let me find another image here, the side view here, that we can look at. So you can see that this angles a bit, and also this pushes out a bit, and maybe this as well. So you can extrude this edge or vertex, then fill that like that, and let's turn on subdivisions, maybe turn on smoothing as well. I will need a little bit more resolution to get the topology right here, so let me add a few in here so that we have that indent. So push that in a bit like that, and maybe push the whole thing out as well. Let me first switch off subdivisions. So they have changed the icons. So this is a new version of Blender. They're changing some of the icons. I'm just realizing this. Anyway, so let's continue. So let's extrude this portion here. So I'll add a loop, Control R to add a loop there, and select this portion, then hit E to extrude it up like that. Then I'll select these, push them to the side. Can add Control R to add a loop there, C to circle select, and then select that part, and then grab that, push it out as well. Maybe add a loop in the middle here, push it out as well, and then let me see what else can I do here. I can push these as well to the top like that, but this is too straight, so I need to make it bend a bit. So what I usually like to do if I want to make a proper bend, I can just box select the top vertices there, and then maybe shift C, add my 3D shift and then right click to change my 3D cursor to that position, and then hit full stop on the keyboard to change the pivot point at 3D cursor. Now if I rotate this, you can see that it rotates at that angle, but these polygons here are not being influenced. So I'll turn on proportional editing by pressing O on the keyboard, or just selecting it here, and then that should turn on proportional editing, which will let me influence those polygons, but I don't have enough polygons around here, so let me first turn off proportional editing. Let me add in a few polygons here. I'll first realign these polygons. Maybe scale. I'll also turn on clipping so that the vertices, when I scale them out, they don't go through the symmetry. I'll just push these out, maybe add a loop there, and I'm going to use Shift C to snap my cursor to that, to the center there, and then scale this in the x-axis like that. And I think that may not be enough resolution, but let's see. Again, Shift right click to snap my 3D cursor there, box select, or use any selection you want, and then rotate again. Make sure you have proportional editing turned on again, and you can see now we have a better bend than what we can do a better bend there. Instead of doing the bend right here, I'll just snap the cursor here so that I get something like this. Let me push it out like that, and I think we also need to push some of these vertices to the back as well. I'll turn on reduce my influence for the proportional editor, so something like that. So let's see. I think I need a loop cut here, but select these polygons here. So if you select a polygon, an edge like this, and then hold down Control and select another polygon away from it, a distance from it, Blender will just path select to that edge you have selected. Say you select this edge and then Control select this edge. Blender will just use a path selection, and just basically what it will do, it will find the closest path to that selection, and add those edges to the selection. So that's what you saw me do here. So I'll just select this and then Control select that. I think I need to pull, I think let me just use C to select this part, and then E to extrude in the x-axis. And I think, let me see if I push these polygons to the side here, I can select these here, because I'm going for this hand rest. So push that up a bit like that. Remember, this is not the final thing. We're just creating a base mesh for where we can fold these swords too. So something like this, and then we can select this and this, and then bridge those faces, or we can bridge them like that. Bridge faces, no. Okay, so if I select, delete this, delete that, maybe delete that edge as well, and delete this face, and then bridge, maybe add a loop here, subdivide, just push that up a bit, can connect this to this, kind of proportional editing. Then I also can connect this to this like that. This I need an extra loop here like that, and I can add an extra loop that goes around here, but instead of it just going around like that, I can just select these loops, these edges like that, then add that loop so that it folds around the polygons, so something like that. So I can connect this to this to this, and now I think we have a good base mesh to work with. We still lack a few polygons resolution for this, but let me see how it looks with a subdivision surface. Let me delete these bottom polygons. I think we have doubles, so let me first turn off the mirror for a second. Okay, so we have these faces. Let's delete those and turn this back on. I'm not sure how I feel about the changes of the icon, because I think the eye made more sense than these chain links, but Yeah, those guys at Blender know better than me what is best for Blender, so I just keep quiet on that. So let me push this down, and if I turn off subdivisions, I need these faces to be, maybe I can just push these out a bit further, something like that. Maybe you can add a loop here. So basically this is going to be our base model. So we can start making the swords here. So yeah, let's make a very simple sword and see how we can do that. You know what, I'm going to first, let me see the full set. I'm going to first create only the blade, and then I can add the handle later, because I see if I try to create a sword with a full blade, with a full handle, it's going to be very hard to place these on. And since the base here doesn't have a lot of handles, we can start with that. So let's create a sword. Shift A. Let me first reset my 3D cursor. Shift right click to reset the 3D cursor to any position you click at, and then Shift A. I will rotate this and scale this blade to be roughly there, this size, and I can select this edge, maybe add a loop in the middle there, select the bottom edge, and this make it a bit pointy. So now if I scale, because my 3D pivot, what is this called? The pivot point is still set to the 3D cursor. It's being everything is scaled to that 3D cursor. So let me hit full stop here, or period on the keyboard, to change it to median point, so that I can scale everything to the median point. So something like that. Now we have our blade, but it's not as detailed as I want it to be. So let me come in inside here and select this edge loop, Ctrl B to bevel it, add 3 segments using your middle mouse wheel. You can see the shortcuts I'm using here, or you just go to the bevel settings and add more segments here. So I can select this edge loop and let me push this in a bit like that. And so if we turn on smooth shading, you can see that we get something like that. But I don't like how this goes all the way to the bottom here, so I can select this vertex and this here, hit J to join them, and select the 3, control, and then control select the last one, so that I can select a path to that vertex, and then I can hit Alt M to merge those at the center. And I also don't need these edges anymore. Let's see, do I? No, I don't need them, so I can just select them and then Ctrl X to dissolve them, and now we have our sword looking like that. But this middle, I don't know how to call it, is fading away too fast, so I can add a loop here. So I'll just box select, and then right click subdivide to add a loop, and then right click, alt click it to, is it right left click to select it, and then hit G on your keyboard twice to slide that vertex. Basically what it's doing is giving this edge some support, so that it doesn't fade away really fast as it was. So you can see that it's fading away around here, but if I add this in, if I slide this edge to around here, you can see this middle part is taking a bit more time to vanish away. So I also can expand it a bit by scaling this up like that. So this is what we have for our blade. I don't want to add a lot of polygons, but because as you can see that we have a lot of swords to make, and if we use a lot of polygons, we're going to run into issues. Your computer might not handle it very well. So let me first turn off subdivisions here, so that I can what I'm going to do is duplicate this sword and start placing it in different areas. So maybe we can start by putting it up here, because you can see there are no blades that side. So I'll just shift D to duplicate this and rotate it I can just hold down control and snap the rotations around like that. And I think I can also angle this a bit like that. Okay, another thing I see that we're going to run into is that this is more like a thin piece of paper. It doesn't really have any thickness to it or any body. And I don't want to use a lot of polygons by extruding the entire thing. So what I can do, let me see. I can select the outer polygons or edges and extrude those so that if looked at an angle, this sword should have some kind of thickness to it. So I think that's good enough. So I can bring this and oh, I think we are running into some issues here. This part is not very straight, and I think it's an issue on this part in this sword too. It's not as straight as it should be. So let me straighten that up. Come back to this sword. We'll bring this up here in front of our seat like that. Now we need to make a few duplicates. Let me save this and Game of Thrones seat, and let's save this. So now that we have this, we need to make a few duplicates of this. Let me look at this very carefully here. I'm wondering if we can use a mirror modifier somewhere, because that would save us a lot of time. I think we can use a mirror modifier for the back blades, but for the front ones, because of how they are intersecting and going through each other, we shouldn't use the mirror modifier on that. So we will have a few layers of these, and then a few layers of the ones that are going on top. So I think we can use I'm thinking I don't know, maybe it's not going to be, let me see if we add a mirror modifier for this. What axis? Okay, I will need to apply the rotation of this. So Control A, apply rotation and scale, and we have that. So I'll just need to center the pivot point of this. So select this base seat and then Shift S cursor to selected, so that our cursor is here in the middle, and then select the blades, Shift S cursor, sorry, not that, but right click origin to 3D cursor, so that we have that. So I think it also helps to have the 3D cursor at the base of the blades around there and in the middle like that. So let's make sure it's that, so that when we are scaling, we need to change the pivot point to the 3D cursor here. So hit period on your keyboard and then select 3D cursor, so that we can rotate around that axis and then also scale on that axis. So let's duplicate this. I usually like to work with the mirror being on this side instead of this side. So let me, maybe because I'm right-handed, so Control A, I'll mirror this on this side. So Shift D, rotate this, and since the pivot point is at that point, I can scale this up, and you can see how it's intersecting with the bottom here. I don't want that, so I'll just maybe go to right mode, right view, and push this in front a bit, so that it's not intersecting. But I don't think it would matter because we're going to have another layer of these blades on top of that. So yeah, don't worry about that too much. So let's rotate this, Shift D, duplicate this, scale this down. You can see that I'm avoiding the use of the subdivisions modifier, because if I tried to use that and have a lot of blades in the scene, it would really slow down my computer a lot, and my computer is not the best machine there, so out there. So let me duplicate this again, rotate this, scale this up, and when you start to see these intersecting at the top here, it may not be a problem if they intersect at the bottom, but at the top here, this layer may come through, so you want to be very worried about that, so that these blades don't intersect at the top where they might be visible. So let's duplicate that. If they start intersecting, you can move them around along another axis, and I think we can also rotate them back as well if you want to. So Shift D again, can scale this, Shift D, rotate this, Shift D. I'll be rotating them a bit on the Z and Y axis as well to add some variance to this. Yeah, not bad for how it should look. So another thing you can do is that you can see some of these swords are bent on the edge, on this at the top here. So what we can do is maybe go to edit mode. Make sure you have, they're changing a lot of things, so they have also changed these icons here. So go to edge mode and press C for circle select, and select the edges, these edges here. Right click, subdivide, so that we have loop cuts for that. So let me go to solid mode, select these loops here, and slide them to the top around there. So I don't want to bend everything, but I can bend a few of these swords. And what you can do is just select that loop, Shift S, cursor to selected, so that our cursor is there, and then select this top. And what you can do is rotate this around that edge. But you can see that right now it's too bent. So we can select that and then Ctrl B to bevel that, so that is a smooth bend like that. I think we can do this for all these so that they're a little bit bent, like what we can see in the real image here. So I'll do that for this as well. Shift S, cursor to selected. I'll then select this top, rotate on the X direction like that. So I'm going to first bend everything here, so and then I will bevel them all at the same time. So Shift S, cursor to selected, and then select this top. Again, Shift S, cursor selected, and then select that, rotate X. See how they're bending? We don't have to bend everything, because you can see as these go this side, I will have another layer that is going to go over on top of them, so we don't really have to worry about those. So I'll just bevel these so that we have a smooth bend on them like that. I think that's good. So another thing we can do, I think we can add a few blades behind here, another layer behind here, and for that let me select this here, Shift D, and push it back a little bit. And before I duplicate this, let me make sure this is also, maybe I should rotate it. Let me snap my cursor here like that, and before I duplicate it, I'll add the bend, and let me just use this polygon that we already have. Again, Shift S, cursor to selected, but you see that if I just rotate this solid, let me make sure I'm saving. If I just triangulated this, I don't want that. If I rotated this on the x-axis, you can see how it's going to be bent, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is select a face here, and go to these gizmo settings here, or transformation orientations, and just hit plus here to get the orientation of this face, and use that as our rotation axis. So let me select this here, increase or grow that selection, and now if I rotate this on the x-axis, you can see that it's being bent on the axis of the orientation we selected. Let me add a bevel here so that we get that smooth curve. Remember, we won't need this base, we're just building on top of that, and maybe we need that so that we don't have a lot of swords, but it will be hopefully covered by the swords and not very visible for the most part. So let me select this, Ctrl L, select that part, Let me snap my 3D cursor there. I'll also change the orientation back to global so that we get the right orientation, and rotate these. So I'm duplicating these around the spaces we have in between here. So let me duplicate this again, rotate that to have it there. I'm also scaling it up, and so like that. You can also rotate it around something like that. Shift D, rotate this. Maybe bring this up in front. Shift D, rotate this. So we have our first part, our first layer of the Game of Thrones seat. So let's see how to make these here. They shouldn't be too hard. I don't think we are going to need a mirror modifier. Let's use a mirror modifier, and then we will layer other swords on top of that. So let me duplicate this, Shift D, bring it in front here. Let me see how this looks. Okay, I see. Let me see if I turn this on. I think this is pushed in a bit too much, so I need to push that back, and this back like that. So we need this to be bent. So what I can do is, let me see, put it here, add a loop where I want the bend to be, so around there. And again, Shift S, cursor selected, and we can select the top part. Let me make a copy of this, a backup copy. So now that we have that, let me then make sure that your pivot point is set to 3D cursor. Just hit period on your keyboard and set 3D cursor like that. Then we can rotate this to be angled like that. Now we have this sharp corner, so we can just select that loop. Remember, the shortcut for selecting an entire loop is just hold down Alt and then right click to select that, and then you can use Ctrl B to bevel that. You can use the middle mouse wheel to add more resolution where you want, if you want. And I don't want this to be very heavy, so I'll just add maybe a few like that. And I think that is good. So I could have used a bend modifier, but the problem with that is that I would need a lot of resolution in all these areas where we don't need it. So I'm just by doing it this way is that what helps is that I'll be adding resolution only where I will need it. So you can see that we only have the resolution only on this bend, and we don't have any extra polygons or loops on this side. So that also reduces the computation time of your object. So let me snap the 3D cursor up here, select everything, and rotate these around like that. I'll also make sure you always have a backup copy here that you can start from. So let me select this, Shift S, cursor to selected, and right click origin to 3D cursor, and then add a mirror modifier like that. I need this to be so you can see that the way these swords are bent, they're being bent here, and they're also bent a bit like in a curve, in a depression here. So we can add that like that, and okay, so then Shift S, cursor selected, and select these polygons. Again, rotate them around there so that we get that bend, and maybe make it a little bit extreme like that, and bevel this as well. Yeah, I think that is enough resolution. The problem we're having now is that we are losing some of that. Not sure how to call that, but let me call it I don't know. So let me push them back in like that, so that we have that. Now we just need to make a duplicate, so a few duplicates of this, and then move them around. We can also turn on proportional editing when we are moving these around, so I can also rotate these a bit like that. So Shift D, turn on proportional editing, and then let's snap the cursor there, duplicate that, and I don't want these to be intersecting, so I'll just drop them down a bit. So we need to make a few variations of this, but let me first duplicate them enough times. So maybe push these to the back, duplicate these, rotate them. Maybe this one will go top like that a bit. Shift D. We can have some that are really bent, like this. Or something like that. And you can see we have this here. So I think we can do this like this. So if I add this loop like here, I want this to come and bend over here. So let me see how I can approach that. So if I delete these vertices, you can hold down Control and then right click to have something like that. But the problem is that it's also increasing the size. Let me make sure that my pivot point is set to median point, and scale this back. So I just want this to be bent like this, and then Control click to get that there, and maybe push this. Let me just extrude this down like that. But again, these are too sharp, so I'll just select those loops and Control B to bevel them. We're getting a few issues here. Let me I think I need to rotate these, push it back a bit like that. Let's bevel this and see. Okay, now it's not too bad. So we have something like that. Select this and these, bevel those. I'll reduce the resolution or the number of segments for the bevel to something like that. Wait, or maybe we can add a loop here. Push this up a bit, just a bit, and then bevel that. Let me try 2 segments and push these down like that. So this part here is getting too deep into our mesh, so I'll turn on proportional editing and push them out just a bit like that. So we don't have to make all these all the blades go from all the way to here to there. So what I can do is reuse this part here. So if I select this here, I can grow that selection using Control and then plus until we get something like that. Then Shift D and move these. Let me turn on proportional editing. Move this in front. Maybe mirror this on the x-axis. See how that looks. So something like that. And I can turn on proportional editing, but this time enable connected so that I don't move the other polygons that are not connected to this mesh. So I can move this down a bit and maybe select these polygons at the front, move them up a bit like that. Now since we have the mirror modifier, it's helping us on this end of things. So we need a few more of these. So I can select this here, or let me select this, then grow the selection. Shift D, move that, maybe mirror this. Maybe let me just rotate this. Can also move it like that, maybe. Let's see. So something like that. So we still need more swords, but let's see. Where should we add more? We need a few swords to weave through these. So if I select, I can select this here, Shift D, something like that. Now we can also select some of these, Shift D, rotate them around like this, push them in, Shift D, rotate these around like that, Shift D, rotate these 90 degrees like that, and rotate them again. I think this would work best without the mirror modifier. So what I'm going to do is separate them into their own objects. So I'll just hit P. So this, consider this as a different layer, and we'll just remove the mirror modifier for now. Select these, push them in like that. So we just need these to weave through the other blades. Maybe I can push this up just a bit, and I can add a few polygons here. It doesn't have to be perfect, because remember, we're going to layer a lot of these on top of each other. So let me duplicate this. I think we can select this here to be up, this to be down a bit like that, and push this, and maybe this part here, if we add a loop around there and there, you can select this part to be up. Let me see, maybe this part we need to add a loop there, push that in. So what I'm trying to do is break the symmetry that we're seeing here using other polygons. So now we can select this, just duplicate it a few times, maybe even give it a slight rotation like that. Duplicate that, rotate these. So let's see, if we change the shading to meta cup, I think there is a metallic look we can give this. Let me see, this, yeah, this is too shiny. Let's okay, let me remove random colors and just use single material. I think it's coming together. So yeah, I'll continue this in the next part and see how that goes.